certain areas, like if you're buying closer to the mountain, you're going to see like radon, which is an odorless, colorless gas, and actually is one of the second leading causes of lung cancer. Hey everybody, it's Joe Maez here along with
Amar Neshwa, Frost Mortgage Lending Group.
Excellent, guys. So we are here for episode 5, and we're going to dive into inspections. Last week, we talked about opening up escrow. If you didn't get a chance to watch last week's video, you can always go to our YouTube channel and check that out and catch up. Even go back to episode number 1. But here we are, episode number 5. We're going to be talking about inspections. And there's a variety of inspections. In fact, there's so many inspections I can't even count how many inspections there are. But we're going to talk about some of the basics and the importance of working with the broker and working with a lender that can kind of guide you in a way to select certain inspections, so that way you don't have a really bad experience. Quite honestly, I deal with a lot of folks, and consistently I'm getting people that come back and say, wow, I wish we'd have known we could have ordered that inspection. I wish we'd have known this when we bought this house. So I don't want that to be your particular situation. And then we're also going to talk about how that plays in from a lender standpoint. So the majority of the time, and the reason why it's so important to work with a broker that's very knowledgeable about the market is because there's certain pockets and certain areas that maybe require different inspections. Okay, so New Mexico has some rural locations that maybe don't have city sewer. So we have what's called, and it's actually a state law, that you have to have a septic inspection.
Definitely.
So every sale, there has to be a septic inspection. Okay, properties can't trade hands without them.
Definitely.
Okay, and then we also have well inspections that are out there, because some places don't have a municipal water system. Okay, but one of the more popular inspections is the full home inspection, and let me tell you why that's a must. Now, sometimes you'll get in multiple offer situations that we see all the time, where people are waiving inspections, right? Or they say, I'm gonna buy the house as is. You got to be wary about that. Your right is to have inspections on a house. So most of the time, almost 100% of the time, we're going to want advise our buyers to get what's called a full home inspection. And the best way to talk about that is it's kind of like a physical, if you will.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
So that checks everything, guys. That's plumbing, heating, electrical, the roof. And then based off of that inspection, it's going to go back and maybe warrant another inspection. Okay. So that's how that works. Certain areas, like if you're buying closer to the mountain, you're going to see like radon, which is an odorless, colorless gas, and actually is one of the second leading causes of lung cancer. But what other inspections? Let's talk about from a lending standpoint. And again, you guys can chime in or message us about specific inspections. Each property, let's say we're doing something in North Albuquerque Acres part of town, chances are there's going to be a septic inspection, a full home inspection, a septic inspection, a well inspection. There's going to be a radon inspection.
Definitely. Yep.
Termite, dry rot, all these inspections. And there may be some other inspections that you may require at that time, but each property is different. Okay. Versus maybe you're purchasing a new home and it's just a full home inspection, right? So let's talk about from the lending side.
From a lending standpoint, what an underwriter and what the loan officer look for on the actual purchase agreement is what is called out on the actual purchase agreement once it's filled in. Once you go put an offer on the house, you're going to disclose on there what inspections you are going to want when you do purchase the home. And if those inspections are disclosed on the purchase agreement, the underwriter is going to want to see copies of those inspections that shows that they've passed. And if they didn't pass, they should and need to be remedied prior to closing. Right.
So there is a process, guys. So now, in last episode, we talked about setting up escrow. That's the time when we're ordering inspections. Now these inspections are happening. Okay. And so the inspections are going to happen. And then based off of what comes up on the inspections, that's when we can make a repair request to the seller Okay, a couple of things can happen. One, you as a purchaser can terminate the agreement based off of findings on the inspection. And those do not have to be from a licensed inspector. That could just be based off of visible inspection via you. But so you have that, but then you're going to make your repair request. And then off of that repair request, one, you can terminate based on findings. Two, you can ask the seller to remedy certain items, and also, or not limited to, asking for a credit for certain repairs.
That's huge,
right? So tell us about how that works.
So in
with
this
you.
market right now, we're getting a lot of buyers that are taking control of these deals, and these transactions are working in the favor of a buyer in a lot of cases, only because you are allowed to ask for a credit to be applied towards closing if you don't want certain items repaired that are not lender required repairs. So, I mean, if you see something with a visible eye that says, you know what, I don't like this, I want the paint redone, or I want it re-stuccoed rather than just cleaned up, I mean, you could ask for a potential money towards your closing costs that are gonna deduct your cash to close quite a bit, and it's gonna go a long ways.
Okay, and every situation is different, guys. But the reason why you're seeing a lot of credits and price reductions in lieu of repairs, and I'll give you the reason. The main reason is the fact that most escrow periods are 30 to 45 days. Okay, in today's environment, post-COVID, still kind of the labor supply is so short that it's so hard to get people out to make certain repairs, maybe the repairs that you're wanting. It could be maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe months, 3-4 months to get on the schedule. The seller's not going to wait for you, the buyer, for an additional 4 months to have those repairs made. And I'm assuming that you as a purchaser probably don't want to wait that long either. So that's why a lot of these cash price reductions or maybe invoices paid at closing are going to be a lot of ways to see things. All right. So let's talk about, so what do you need to see as a lender? So we did the inspections. We know that we could terminate based on findings if there's something earth shattering.
So each loan is going to have its different guidelines as well. I mean, I know the VA loan.
Tell us about that.
They definitely want to see a pest and termite inspection, and they want to see that there's no visible evidence of termites or dry rot on the property.
So let's just say, termites, the home comes back, and that happens, guys. It really does happen, and it's not that big of a deal. It just depends on the situation. But there's certain areas of town that have termite, have a pretty, higher tendency for termites. So let's say the house comes back with termites, and that comes on the inspection. What is required for a VA loan or FHA?
For FHA and VA, typically we want to see a company go out there and remedy those termites or the dry rot and get it repaired. And we need to see a cleared termite or dry rot report transaction closing.
Okay, so let's just say, a property had termites, but they were doing a conventional loan. What's the difference between those two loans?
If that inspection was never brought up on the purchase agreement, then that is not a requirement to be completed prior to closing.
All right, so the lender may not require that.
May not require it on a conventional loan.
Same thing with, and guys, we talk about dry rot. Like a lot of times when in New Mexico we get snow, rain, we get crazy amounts of sun. So all that expansion and contraction causes wood to rot, and so sometimes you'll see houses that have wood rot. That's the same situation for
government loans. We're going to want to see that dry rot repaired, remedied, cut, redone, repainted, whatever it needs to be done. And then in some cases on a conventional loan, you would want it done as well. But some people choose to go the credit route and to say, you know what, I'll take $1,000 towards my closing costs or whatever the number is, and I'll fix it myself later on. All
right, guys. So that's kind of the ins and outs of it. So you've asked for certain repairs. The seller may come back and say, well, hey, in lieu of repairs, I'm going to give you this money off the price of the house. Here's some bids to back up the price. And then it's really up to you how you want to move forward. Okay. And then an amendment is done and it's presented to your lender to make sure that the closing is on track. And that's all the type of stuff that we at the Maez Group and of course Amar at Frost handle for you. Because again, if you haven't done this, if you don't do this every day, multiple times, you wouldn't even know where to start, right? And so these are certain things that we walk you through, and that's why it's important to have a professional on your side. And again, for a list of all the inspections that are possible, you can message us and we could provide those. It's really quite substantial, but we always do recommend that you do inspections, mainly that full home inspection, because it really covers everything and may warrant new inspection. So one more thing on the full home inspection, let's just say something popped up with the plumbing issue on the house. There's they found a problem with the plumbing. What happens in that particular situation is the buyer, can ask the seller to get another inspection out there, or maybe you want to pay for that inspection, depending on your negotiations with that seller, to get a licensed professional to evaluate that and fix and repair. So you can get that. It goes with the roof, plumbing, electrical, heat, everything. So, and we walk you through all that. So, so much to talk about with inspections and asking for repairs, but it's good that now what you can and cannot do with respect to those certain items. So we talked about everything. Now we want to invite you to come join us next week for episode 6, when we talk about another inspection. It's a different form of inspection. It's called the appraisal, and we'll walk you through all the different types of loan products and clean appraisals, subject to appraisals, etc. So look forward to seeing you guys next week. Hope you guys are enjoying this. If you are, shoot us a quick like and pass it on to friends. Thank you.
Thank you.